And I know that you're a firm believer in adversity. I'm a firm believer in adversity. We say to our boys that earned maturity is forged in the furnace of adversity.
Yes.
Right? So maturity is forged there. And your very career has been in special forces. And I'll never forget the T-shirt they gave us. We were at Camp McCall. This is Advanced School of Suffering.
That's right. That's right.
Welcome to Pit Stop for Life Change. My name is John Stigerwald, and I'll be your host today. And this program is sponsored by the North Carolina Boys Academy, and we're delighted that you've tuned in to be with us today. A real exciting program. You know, I say that every time we have a podcast, exciting, but this is a special program. We have a good friend of ours. He's a patriot. He's works with Special Forces over at Fort Bragg, and he's here today to share with us a really special ministry that has. Him and his wife have started a company, an organization called Gold Star Teen Adventures. And this organization is all about helping the families of our fallen heroes in our nation. And so I want to welcome to our program Colonel Kent Solheim.
Thank you, Pastor John.
It's great to have you here, Kent.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Wonderful. You know, 30-year military career.
That's right.
And I know that you're approaching retirement, but it's really retreading for you because you have no ambitions to really stop because you're involved in a different kind of mission of helping families. So when we think about Gold Star Teen Adventures, right, I often think to myself, like why Gold Star Teen Adventures? Like, give us the why of why you and your wife are involved in that. And that really taps into your story. So share with our listeners today.
Yeah, and you know, before we get to that part, I'll just say, we say Gold Star, that's a term we give families of those that have lost somebody. So it comes from a tradition of if somebody loses somebody that a life lost overseas, they'd hang a gold star in the window to signify, hey, this is, you know, there was a loss in this family.
Yes.
So for those listeners that don't know what it is, that's when we say Gold Star Teen Adventures, we're talking about the family members of fallen service members, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, siblings. So
and it could be even first responders.
So more broadly, that's specific to the military. Our mission started with military, but it actually expanded into serving law enforcement and first responders as well.
Mm-hmm.
So back to your original question, kind of how this came about. So Gold Star Teen Adventures really was born out of an experience, a personal experience, which I'll share with you. So as you said, I've been in the service for a long time, and I'll have to take you back to July 27th, 2007 on a combat deployment to Iraq. And on that particular night, my organization, the Special Forces unit I was with, was missioned to capture an insurgent battalion commander. And so the plan was to helicopter infill into a target, a compound where we believe that commander lived, capture the commander, and bring him back under the control of coalition forces. So through the course of that night, we ended up in contact with enemy forces, insurgent forces, and I was subsequently very seriously wounded that night, shot multiple times in a firefight. And frankly, if not for the grace of God and the steady hands of medics, I wouldn't be here talking with you today. So I was fortunate to survive that experience, but when we talk about Gold Star Teen Adventures, I like to think that it really started about 3 or 4 seconds after
Is that right?
Wounded. Yeah, and I don't have a strong recollection of all the events of that night, but I very clearly and distinctly remember the first thing that I thought about when I knew the situation was dire and my injuries were serious was I thought about my kids. And I had an 8 and 11-year-old then, now grown. But I have an 8-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son at the time. And I recall thinking about them, and this was the wake-up alarm to start fighting to survive,
to live,
right? Like, and so after that thought, the immediate action was get on the radio. I was not able to do self-aid at the time, but get on the radio, let people know my circumstances. And
Mm-hmm.
that would start a long road to recovery, and a lot of lessons that were learned through that experience.
Sure.
And so I say 3 seconds after, right, thinking first thing that crossed my mind was my kids. And
Well, your family.
Yeah, of
Your
course, my family,
your
right?
family.
And then over the course of road to recovery, there's many service members that weren't as fortunate as I was, right, and did not come home, but had young children at home. And so there was a real, I think, calling to do something about that. And Gold Star Teen Adventures was born.
So your own personal story, your own personal experience, your fallen buddies, whoever they
Yeah.
are, you're thinking about, okay, so I made it home, they didn't.
Right.
Who's caring for, leading, helping, assisting their families?
Sure.
And your wife stepped up to do that, to serve these. And so that started when?
So I was wounded in 2007, and in 2009 we were able to had our first event.
Launched
we
it?
Weren't, yeah, we weren't a nonprofit at that time. We were actually working with another
Yeah.
nonprofit, and we sort of launched
Yeah.
the program, and then it grew from an idea into really what we have today.
Yeah, which is quite amazing because we first met early January 2025. We were at Camp McCall, and you brought some of your students or participants.
Yeah, we'll do some
Yeah,
of the teens, right?
Some of the
our-
teens, just some of the
our
teens and our
alumni.
teens, and we've
Yeah.
got to meet each other. And I saw some of your young people there were outstanding. So tell us what the program's about. Tell us what you guys do, because you operate primarily during the summer, but you've got a lot of cool stuff going on for kids,
Yeah.
teenagers.
Sure. I appreciate that question. So I'll really start like, what do we hope to accomplish? What's the goal of the
mission?
program, right? Our mission really, we cover 3 pillars to me that are very important, and some of these were also born out of my experience at the time I spent in the hospital on the road to recovery. But we strive to provide an environment of healing for these young people. And my time in the hospital, I realized that some of the most important healing bridges that I crossed were in conversation and consultation with other people that had experienced what I had experienced. It wasn't necessarily the psychologist, the sociologist, the doctor. It was the peer that knew, not vicariously, but firsthand what you were going through. And
Person
so-
who knew their way around the hospital a little bit because they've been there a little bit longer.
Well, more specifically, they sustain injuries like mine.
Okay.
And I go back to a story. It was about 2.5 weeks after I'd been wounded, and my orthopedic surgeon came in and he said, "Hey, Kent, I have a young person that I would like you to talk to, and he's about 6 months ahead of you."
In recovery.
In recovery, yes.
Okay.
6 months ahead of me in recovery, right? So, and at this time, I don't really know what the future holds. I had gunshot wounds to both legs, had been shot in the shoulder, and couldn't walk. One of the legs was paralyzed. And so a lot of uncertainty, right? Everything you knew one day is completely changed the next day. Don't know really what you're going to do professionally, how this affects your family, how this affects your life. So I agreed to, and was looking forward to this conversation. And so this young man, it was arranged for him to come see me. He comes to my room, and the first thing I observed when he came to my room was he walked into my room. So here's a guy in bed not knowing if he's going to walk again.
And he's
And
walking.
I see somebody walk in, and it's like, okay, mental cue number 1. He walked in, and he sat down on my bedside, and we talked, and he told me about what sort of, I think, laid what the road might look like ahead of me, and what I might face, and what challenges you have, and then what realities it have, right? And so some of it's good news, some of it's not, but there was an important lesson that came out of that, right? And that was one of those igniters to say, okay, it's time It's time to move on.
So environment for healing was
Environment
one.
for healing.
Yeah, but in that conversation, though, so I guess at Walter Reed, these
Yeah.
guys are not only these doctors, professionals, not only monitoring your physical recovery, but they're also addressing your emotional, your mental state, and bringing people like in to see you so that you could be encouraged and that could help you move forward. And it was that conversation, healing conversation. That's a powerful.
It is.
It is so powerful. I mean, it's incredible. So what's number two?
Number two is providing really some world-class opportunities.
Love it.
I want these young people to go back
Sure.
after the summer and go back to school and say, hey, this is what I did this
I
summer.
don't want to go back.
Yes, I was 130 feet underwater. I was, I did class 4 rapids in a boat, right? And so, what we want to do big league, and make it something that counts, and give them something to work towards. But oh, by the way, those opportunities are all designed to be very challenging, and so I'm
Little
okay.
adversity.
A lot of adversity. I'm okay with you being. If I actually want, I want you to have a fear that you have to overcome, right? And so if you've ever been underwater scuba diving, the first time you take your mask off underwater can be an emotional experience for somebody. Right?
Clearing your mask.
Clearing your mask, but I'm okay with that because adversity is an important part of becoming who you can be. Which leads us really to our third pillar, and I would say one that I give primacy to, but it's character and leadership development. I want, and it's so important in our program that we create young people or contribute to young people becoming successful young adults and onward, right? And so I am a firm believer that success comes through the values that we associate with and the leadership skills that we develop, and those come through opportunities. So all of our programs strive to create an environment that we're building on. We're building that foundation that I believe can make you successful for the rest of your life. So to recap, healing, world-class opportunities, and this idea of character and leadership
development.
Yeah.
Outstanding. So what are some of the programs like scuba diving? So tell us about that.
Yeah, we have two academies, an outdoor academy and a scuba academy. A scuba academy, a young person can enter the program, and over the course of multiple years can go from learning how to scuba dive to becoming a very advanced scuba diver with high levels of certification and training. And then we also have an outdoor academy where we introduce people to paddling skills, start on still water, move up to moving water, swift water, and eventually even give them skills to do swift water.
Here in North Carolina?
Here in North Carolina,
Western North Carolina?
Yeah, not far from
the academy.
Where you are, from the academy, yep. And then there's extensions of the outdoor program that include things like hunting and other outdoor activities, camping, camping skills, survival skills. So all tools, and all of these use the outdoors. And the outdoors are just a tool to be able to teach those skills we talked about. I know you do this in your program, right?
Yes.
Mother Nature gets
Yes, I was going to go right there, Kent, because when I first met you, we were talking about how Mother Nature has a voice in determining whatever we're doing, because it could be fierce at times. It could create adversity.
Yeah.
And I know that you're a firm believer in adversity. I'm a firm believer in adversity. We say to our boys that earned maturity is forged in the furnace of adversity.
Yes.
Right. So maturity is forged there, and your very career has been in special forces. And I'll never forget the T-shirt they gave us. We were at Camp McCall. This is Advanced School of Suffering.
That's right. That's right.
And it brings out the very best in us. And even with you and your injury, I love what today you spoke to our students. I love what you said to them as you identified yourself, your identity, that you're more than a serviceman, and more than a person that has lost their leg and you're overcoming. You're a father, you're a husband. You have all these other parts of your identity. Talk to us about how important that is, especially for someone that has experienced deep hardship or suffering in their life. And how has that changed your life?
Yeah. I think the moment you realize that life is not fair, that's a good day. Because
say that again.
The moment you realize that life is not fair, that's a good and important day in your life, right? Because live here long enough, something is going to happen in your life.
Sure.
And so you and I use the analogy of cards today, right? You don't necessarily get to choose what cards you're dealt.
You don't.
But there's always a choice after those cards are dealt, and which cards you're going to play and what choices you make afterwards. And so when I think of adversity and I look over well, actually, you want to focus more, I say less on adversity, right? We want to focus more
Go
on,
whatever we got about 5 minutes left. So.
Okay. Well, we can start with adversity. I'm a proponent of adversity because I really think, as you said, that's where we actually are able to truly become the best versions of ourselves.
Yes.
Right? The best people I've met are typically the ones that have had some hardships in their life and overcome those things. And so in the course of my military career, the things I'm most thankful for are the hardships and the hard times, because it puts life in perspective. A lot of things become first world problems when you've dealt with hardships. And so you talked about identity as well, and I think in the closing couple minutes we have, I would encourage your listeners to, if you're one of those people that have had those experiences or those that have not yet had those experiences, just understand that we have a choice when bad things happen.
We do.
And one of those choices that we have is whether or not that is going to become your banner. Name the trauma that you went through, the experience you went through. Is that the thing that you're going to be? Or, as you said, are you going to be all the other things? And so the example I gave this morning, and I'll share here, I have a prosthetic limb. That is white noise to me. And that is not what I want people to know me as. I just happen to put on a leg in the morning to walk.
We put on our pants.
Yeah, I put on pants and a leg, right? But that's not who I am.
So much more.
And if that's who you look, when you look at me, if that's what you see, then I failed to show you who I really am. And so I would.
You're not defined by that.
Yeah, you're not.
Don't be defined by that.
Yeah, and I think we let those things beat you when you become defined them. This thing will help you become who you are, and go ahead.
No, but you're right on. And I think that's when I watched our students this morning. That's what they value in you, because you said that you have overcome. You are so much more than that thing that's happened to you. In your story, I said, well, it's a part of your story. I said, it's a chapter. You said, no. And I said, okay, well, it's 3 paragraphs then, right? But there's a whole story being told.
Yeah.
And that's what's so encouraging, the resiliency, the grit, and to see, to hear you talk to your boys on the phone when we were coming to the studio here, to watch you interact with your wife, and the work that you do with Gold Star Teen Adventures is phenomenal. And if you're listening today and you know someone, and it could be someone that's a first responder, anybody that has lost a loved one, a military or first responder, they can get in touch with your organization. Can they can do that?
I would say visit our website.
Yeah. What's the website?
It's gstadventures.org. And I would encourage that. I'm reminded that sacrifice is not always just the first responder or the service member. It's the family.
It's the family.
And we owe it to the family as well.
And so I may know someone. So is it going to cost me anything? I mean, how much is it?
It's not going to cost you anything.
It's going to cost you anything. So you guys, and this is incredible, this ministry pays for these kids to actually go and have these experiences. So if you want to be a contributor to it, go to their website. They'd be more than willing to receive your donations. But more importantly, if you know someone that is hurting and has lost a dad or a mom, call them, because they have great activities during the summer. And I want to say thank you for joining us today on Pit Stop for Life Change. It's been a joy to have our guest, Colonel Kent Solheim, here, and visit with him and hear his story. Tune in with us again next time. Blessings to you.